The last 16 deadline is tomorrow, and with us having unlimited transfers, there's a lot of decisions to be made. So in this video, I'm going to try and help you piece together the ultimate side to get you through the tournament, give you some advice and show you who I've shortlisted for my side. I do plan to use another chip, so I'm going to give you my reasonings why, and then show you my updated draft, which will be helpful for you to lock your side in for tomorrow's deadline. Do stick around to the end because there is a lot of good advice in here. With 15 years of experience in FPL and many top 10k finishes, I do think you walk away with a better understanding of what you should do. A bit of a spoiler, but I'm currently ranked in the top 1k, so if you do want to watch the journey, hit subscribe and see how I get on the rest of the tournament. I think it might be enjoyable for you to watch. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's just jump into it. Okay, so quickly, let's just go over how I got on in match day 3. Swing goal, I had Corbel and Mekison. As you all know, Boca was pretty disappointing. We all expected clean sheet. They did win, but they didn't get many goals. They only won 2-1. So I switched the goalkeeper. I had Mekison, swapped him for Corbel. Corbel kept a clean sheet. Onto the defence. Hakimi, I got him. He got a goal. Good points. Ramos and Garcia got me good points. Again, Boca Juniors let me down. I thought they would keep a clean sheet against Auckland City. And Cucurella, he got rested. Chelsea made a lot of changes and Cucurella didn't play. So a wild card and for a player to not play was a bit frustrating, but we move on. Into midfield, and Cavichelli got himself a goal. De Arrascaeta didn't really do much for Flamingo. And last minute, I swapped Barcola to Dewey because Dewey was starting. We got a bit of an early leak, the PSG lineup, so I swapped him. I actually got 1 point extra. Barcola only got himself 4 points. Dewey got 5, so I got an extra point from that, not much. Adiemi, disappointing, got himself 1 point. And Palmer, another frustrating one. Chelsea players didn't play at all, so for a wild card and have 2 players that didn't play and for them to cost around 15 million, 16 million, yeah, it wasn't that great. Into the forwards, and Delap scored, which was good. Miritiel, Boca Juniors again, pretty disappointing, the Boca Junior players. I was really targeting that match against Auckland City. And Garassi, he got 2 extra points for having shots on target but no goals or assists. As you can see, I used my wildcard chip. Last minute, I changed my captain from Garassi to Garcia, and Garcia got 9 points and it doubled to 18, which was very good. And I got a total of 79 points. And I'm now ranked in the top 1k, 918. When I last looked. All in all, it wasn't the greatest wildcard, but it was a green arrow, as we say in FPL. I jumped up in rank. Garcia, Hakimi, Ramos, Corbel, Cavichelli and Delap all got me something, but the rest was pretty disappointing. My plan is to use the maximum captain in the quarterfinals still, and then the qualifying boost is going to be used this round in the last 16. Here we have the fixtures. There isn't much that's changed. There was 4 teams that changed. Bayern Munich and Benfica swapped themselves around, and also Fluminense and Dortmund swapped around. But other than that, everybody else stayed as I thought it would be. All the teams that I predicted would go through did actually go through, so all these players have been in my eyesight already. If you've not seen it, I did the first draft video a couple of days ago. Obviously it's a bit changed since then because Dortmund flipping and not playing Inter Milan seems a bit of a better fixture, and Chelsea not playing Bayern Munich and now playing Benfica. And I'm more keen on Chelsea players because then if they do get through, they've got Palmeiras or Botafogo, and I think that's an easier tie than playing Bayern Munich because then I wouldn't really be getting any Chelsea players. So quickly, I just wanted to go over the transfers and how many we can use. We've got unlimited in this round, and then we've got 4 in the quarterfinal, 5 in the semi-final and 6 in the final. I do think we can roll a transfer, but I'm not sure. So we'll have to see. In the quarterfinal, we could potentially roll one and have 6 in the semi-final, but I don't want to steer you in that direction and then get it wrong. But we will see what happens. If I don't really need to use a transfer, I might just roll one and see what happens. But we will see. I might need to use them next week, depending on who gets knocked out. And then finally, we've got the max players that we can have in our side. It used to be a maximum of 3 players from each club, but now after the group stages, it's gone up to 4. It'll jump up to 5 in the quarterfinal. It'll jump up to 6 in the semis, and then it'll be 8 in the final. But just be aware of his sides like Bayern Munich, PSG, Real Madrid. It'll be hard to get 8 players from them sides because they are costly. When you're looking at players like Bellingham and Hakimi and players like that, they are very costly. So you probably won't be able to spend your budget that well. You'll have to probably buy the cheaper options, the Garcias, the Pachos, just to be able to field 11 of them players. So now it's time to plan our matchday 4 side with unlimited transfers. We can have a maximum of 4 players from one side, as I've mentioned. I'm trying to plan a side that's really good now, but also potentially can get through all those stages that I don't need to keep using transfers. Those who got a wildcard don't have to worry as much and they can just attack each game week. But for me, after I've used my wildcard, I need to be selective about who I pick and stuff. First of all, it's PSG and they've got Inter Miami. I really do want to attack that fixture. I think that's one of the favourable fixtures in this round. So as you can see, these are the 8 players that are on my radar. Donnarumma, Hakimi, Mendes, Pacho, Cavichelli, Barcola, Dewey and Dembele. I've got a decision to make. Is it 2 midfielders, a defender and a goalkeeper? Is it 1 midfielder, 2 defenders defenders and a goalkeeper? Is it 2 midfielders, 2 defenders? It's not locked in yet because I don't know which midfielder will play for PSG. Kvaratskhelia and Dembele I'd expect to start if they're fit, but Dembele's not played all the group stages because he hasn't been fit, so even if he does start, do I expect him to play a full 90 minutes? I'm not sure. And then there's a rotation with Barcola and Dewey. They could start him in the last 16, which would be great, but then they could actually not play in the quarterfinal, so I am a little bit wary about buying them too. I do think Hakimi is worth the 0.3 more than Mendes for his goal threat and assist threat. And out of Mendes and Pacho, I'd probably go Pacho. There's a big cheaper price. But if I've got money to spend, then Mendes I'll buy. But I don't think there's much in it between Mendes and Pacho. So if you're looking for budget, Pacho's probably better. Now into Chelsea, and we've got Sanchez, Cucurella, Colwill, Fernandes, Palmer, Neto and Delap. Delap will play because Jackson's suspended. He's got another suspension. I'm pretty certain that Sanchez, Cucurella, Colwill, Palmer and Neto will come back into the side after being rested last game. Fernandes got himself 2 assists last game. If I was to pick a defender, it'd probably be Cucurella over Colwill just for his attacking threat. But I do want to flag that Cucurella and Neto have both got a yellow, and if they pick up a yellow card the next round, they'll be suspended for the next round. I do really like Cole Palmer. He is the key player for Chelsea. But for that price, when there's players like Neto and Fernandes, it could be potentially better to just buy Fernandes and Neto and then not buy Palmer and have more money to buy on other players. Right now with Chelsea, I'm not sure about buying Sanchez, Cucurella or Colwill. I'm not that confident on a clean sheet against Benfica, and I think there's other teams to target clean sheet wise. But I am eyeing up Fernandes, Neto and Delap. I am a tad worried that Delap will get rested if they do get through to the quarterfinal, and Jackson will come back in and give him a bit of a rest. And Fernandes has played all 3 games, but he's not played the full 90 in any of the matches. But I am worried about Fernandes' minutes when you've got Caicedo, Lavia, Asujo and Andre Santos as midfielders, and this heat what they're playing in. There is a potential that he could get rested and he won't play a full 90 minutes. And ideally, you want the players to be playing till the end because the goals could come late on because teams will be pushing to get an equaliser to not get knocked out. So teams will be looking for goals. Next, we've got Borussia Dortmund, and these are the 6 players that I'm looking at. Kobel, Svensson, Reinson, Bellingham, Brandt and Guirassy. I think Guirassy locked in for me. I think at that price he's a really good player to have against Monterrey. I did really like owning Brandt, and I think he's really good for getting assists. But new summer signing Bellingham looked really good in the first match, so my eyes are looking at him. You can save a 0.8 million on him. In defence, Reinson or Svensson, it probably is Svensson now. He's been getting himself more involved in the goals and assists, and he's on set pieces. But I think Borussia Dortmund against Monterrey, there's a good chance they get through. Yes, if they do get through, they'll play Real Madrid or Juventus, and then it doesn't look great. But with me using my qualification booster chip, I do really want to have players that I think are going to get through, and I do think Borussia Dortmund are going to get through, so I'm keen to get some players from them. And then here we go, we've got some other options that are still on my mind: Courtois, Sommer, Neuer and Ederson. Real Madrid have got Juventus, it's not the best of matches. Inter Milan are against Fluminense, and they don't look the best. Inter Milan, they've had a few injuries in defence like Dumfries, and they've got a new manager, so it's all a bit different. Then we've got Neuer, who's a very reliable goalkeeper, but if they do progress, they'll potentially be playing PSG in the next round. And against PSG, I do expect goals from PSG, so I don't expect a clean sheet in the second game, and I'm not sure if they're the favourites to get through that game, so that's putting me off a little bit. And then we've got Ederson. As a player that plays FPL, I'm not that confident on City keeping clean sheets, and I do think Ortega could play another game before the tournament finishes if they keep progressing. And the last thing you want is a goalkeeper that won't play. So into the defence, and the options are Dumfries, DiMarco. They've got Fluminense. I do really like Dumfries. He's one of the most reliable attacking players in Europe in the Champions League last season. DiMarco's a cheaper option if you want to double up on Inter Milan or you haven't got enough funds for Dumfries. And then we've got the Real Madrid defenders, Trent Alexander-Arnold. I'm sure anybody that knows he's very good at getting goals and assists, but we need to remember that the system is not like it was at Liverpool. He doesn't have Salah in front of him. Yes, he does have attacking players that are really good at scoring goals and getting assists, but I'm not sure on his goals and assists just yet. And it's a very costly player to own if you potentially think that he's going to play Juventus this round and then potentially Dortmund the next round. Am I confident that they're going to keep clean sheets in both of them? Not really. He's one of the best fullbacks for attacking output, so we can't write him off. But there is somebody like Garcia for a much cheaper price that's doing just as well. Then next we've got the cheaper option in Stanisic at Bayern Munich. I'm not sure if he will start. Got PSG in the next round. Again, I'm not sure if he keeps a clean sheet in the second game. And then next we've got the City players in Gvardiol and Aït-Nouri. I have really liked owning Gvardiol in the last 2 seasons in FPL. But with the signing of Aït-Nouri, I think he'll play more of a left centre-back more often now. So his chances of getting forward and getting goals and assists is probably less likely. He'll probably be one of the back 3 as one of the wing-backs push up. And for 0.4 million, you could potentially get Aït-Nouri that's going to go attack better down the wing. And then lastly, we've got Piquerez at Palmeiras. He'd be the main person that I'd buy if I was looking for a Palmeiras player. for goals and assists. Over the last 18 months, he's got like 7 goals and 5 assists. So there is a chance that he gets goals and assists, and they've got Botafogo, where they could progress. And I do really want players that are going to progress so I can get an extra 2 points. Now into the other midfielder options, and there's Elise and Musiala. I do favour Elise over Musiala just for the attacking threat, but Musiala is a very good player as well. So if you do want to double up on the Bayern Munich midfield, them are the two that I'd probably pick. And then next we've got the Benfica options in Di Maria and Akatoglu. I do think it's a bit of a 50-50 on which one you'd pick if you was buying one. The one thing that swings it a little bit is Di Maria's been taking penalties and he's on set pieces and corners and free kicks. And Akatoglu didn't start the first game, so maybe he doesn't play. I do think both of them are really good options, but I'm a Chelsea fan and I'm going to back my team, so I'm not probably going to buy Benfica players, but they are really good options. And then next we've got the Real Madrid option, it's Bellingham. So we've got both Bellinghams, Jude and Job. For me, he's the best midfield option in Real Madrid. Because in this game, they've listed Rodrigo and Vinicius as forwards. But he's a pricey fee when you think they've got Juventus and then potentially Dortmund and then potentially PSG or Bayern Munich. Do you expect him to get many goals and assists? And lastly, we've got the City options in Foden, Gundogan and Cherki. Foden hasn't had the best of seasons, but he seems to be doing really well in the Club World Cup. With Kevin De Bruyne leaving, maybe Foden gets a better role in the side. Gundogan's one of them players that always seems to get a goal or assist in big competitions. If it's the World Cup for Germany, he's really high up on the list of penalty takers. And then we've got summer signing Cherki. I do really like the City options against Al Hilal, and then they could potentially play Inter Milan in the next round. But we have seen with Pep, he does like to rotate, and I am worried that whoever you buy will get rested one of the games, and then you're going to have a player that just sits on his bench and comes on for 10 minutes. And the last thing I want is players just being on the bench as the tournament goes on and being worried about who's going to play. I'd rather have nailed on players than players that I'm not certain they're going to play. If I was certain that one of these players were going to play in midfield, I'd have him in my side, but I'm not. And then lastly, we've got the forward options, and we've got Haaland. I really do like Haaland, but I am a tad worried about his minutes. With the American heat, Pep seems to be using him off the bench. I do think he's one of them players though that could come on for 5 minutes and get himself a goal or 2 goals, so it's not like a write-off, but I do want players that are going to play every game, and I am tad bit worried that he does get rested and Marmoush plays up front and he comes on at half time or the 60th minute in a game. And the last thing I want is somebody like that. I want somebody that plays all the time. Next we've got Mbappe and Vinicius. They're both the same price. If they were both 100% fit, Mbappe would be my first choice, but Mbappe's not played much and he's been in hospital, but that does make me look at Vinicius. But then it's the same reasoning as I'll give for Jude Bellingham. He's got Juventus this round, then he could potentially play Dortmund, and then he could potentially play Bayern Munich or PSG in the next round before a final. And these players could score goals in all of them, but with all them matches there is a chance of a slip up. And with me using the qualification booster, I'm a 100% sure that they won't make a slip up against Juventus. Juventus didn't look good against City, but they did look okay the first 2 games, and if they get an early goal, Juventus, they could hold on and make it difficult. And then we've got Martinez, who's against Fluminense, and I think he's the main man for Inter Milan. And with Dumfries back, there's more chance of him getting more chances. I do expect him to get through this round, but the thing that puts me off is he will play City in the next round potentially, and I think City will knock them out then. And then I'd have to use transfers the round after to try and get another player. And then lastly, we've got Pavlidis, and I think he's a very good option, but as I said before, I'm a Chelsea fan and I'm going to back my side, so I'm not really going to get any Benfica players. If Chelsea do get knocked out, then Benfica players might become an option because they'll play Palmeiras or Botafogo in the next round. So next I just want to go over how the quarter-final and semi-finals will go. So as you can see, on day 1, them sides will play each other, and day 2, them sides will play each other. And then for the semi-final, Inter Milan, Fluminense, Man City or Al Hilal will play Palmeiras, Botafogo, Benfica or Chelsea. And then same for the bottom one, PSG, Inter Miami, Flamengo, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Juventus, Dortmund, Monterrey. They'll face each other in the semi-final, 2 of them sides. So with all that in mind, I'm going to show you my current draft. And in goal, I've got Donnarumma and Ederson. I do expect City to beat Al Hilal. I do expect PSG to beat Inter Miami. And both of them have got potentially the best chance of getting through and keeping a clean sheet. So into defence, and I've got Hakimi, and I think he's pretty much locked into my side. And I've joined him up with Pacho, so I've got 3 from the PSG defence because I think they're going to keep a clean sheet and I think they're going to get through. And I do want players that are going to get through, and I think they're going to do it. Same with Guardiola, like Ederson. Then we've got Dumfries, who's back fit, and I think he's one of the best players to have. I am a tad worried about them keeping clean sheets and then them playing Man City in the next round. But I do think they're going to get through this round and get that qualification booster of 2 points. Same with Svensson against Monterrey. Into midfield now, I've got Elise. I did want a bit of Bayern Munich. Harry Kane hasn't impressed me that much in this tournament. Elise is not locked into my side. He could potentially be moved for a PSG midfielder, and then I could sell one of Pacho or Donnarumma for somebody else in another side. I am worried about the minutes of the PSG midfielders when they've got 4 really good attacking players in Barcola, Doué, Dembele and Kvaratskhelia, and which ones I'm 100% confident that they'll play 90 minutes. Dembele, yes, I expect him to play a full 90 minutes when fit, but is he fully fit to play a full 90 minutes, or will they rest him and play 60 minutes and then play 45 minutes and then 60 minutes and then 90? I don't know right now. And then next we've got Joe Bellingham from Dortmund. I do like that he's got more of a goal threat than Brandt. With the 0.8 million saving. That's really helpful when you're trying to build a squad for the whole tournament and not cut any corners. And then next we've got the two Chelsea assets in Neto and Fernandes. These two aren't locked in. I'm a tad worried that Neto might get a yellow card and then be suspended for the next round. I'm a tad worried that Fernandes might only play 60 minutes. And out of all these players, even as a Chelsea fan, I think we've got the hardest game to predict who's going to win. I think it's close to a 50-50 who will actually go through. I do obviously hope Chelsea get through as a Chelsea fan, but I'm not going to sit here and say they're definitely going to get through. And with a qualification booster, I don't really want players that are not going to definitely get through. So that is putting me off a little bit. And then up front, we've got Haaland, Guirassy and Delap. I do really want Haaland, but I am worried about his minutes. Guirassy's locked in, I think. I don't think I'll change him. And then we've got Delap, that's a very cheap option. I do really like having him because he's so cheap as a forward that you can go out and buy Haaland, Guirassy, Elise, Dembele, Hakimi, Gvardiol, Dumfries, Donnarumma and Edison, who are all really high priced, but then not have to buy somebody at a 4 million price bracket that doesn't really play, or you're not confident that they're going to get through to the next round and then the next round. So to summarise this draft at the moment, Hakimi, Dumfries and Svensson feel like locked in defence. The goalkeepers could easily change. Gvardiol and Pacho could easily change, one being buying a PSG midfielder instead, and Gvardiol, I'm worried about rotation. Into midfield, Bellingham could be Brandt, Elise could be a PSG midfielder, Dembele could change to Kvaratskhelia or Barcola or Doué, depending on who's starting. If Dembele's not starting, I don't really want him. I'd rather buy him in the next round when he is starting and I'm more assured of minutes. And then Neto's one yellow card away from a suspension, as I've mentioned, and Fernandes, I'm a little bit worried about him playing longer than 60 minutes, so them two could change. And then up front we've got Haaland. I do really want him. I think he's the best asset to have in Man City side, but I am worried about his minutes in this heat. Guirassy is locked in, I think, and Delap I'm a tad worried about him actually qualifying against Benfica, as I've mentioned with the Chelsea players, and I'm also worried if we get to the next round, does Jackson start? So lastly, I just want to give you a reasoning of why I picked the side as it is. I didn't want to favour one side of the knockout stages to the other and then not have options to change it in the second day. But let's say, for example, you got 9 or 10 players from side A and then they got knocked out and didn't do so well. You'd only have 5 or 6 players from side B to come in off the bench on the other fixtures for that round, and I think splitting it evenly means you aren't so reliant on one of the sides, because we have to remember one of the sides from side A will get to the final, one of the sides from side B will get to the final. So there we have it for my deadline decisions. As you can see, there's quite a lot up in the air and a lot to decide on. I will be looking at my side all day and trying to plan the best side for the rest of the tournament. I do plan to make another video tomorrow, a team selection video, and hopefully it'll be a lot more locked into what I'm thinking. So if you do want to see that video, hit subscribe. If you found this video helpful and informational, hit the like button. My aim is to get 20 likes for this video. If you've made it this far and you've got any questions, get in the comment section. I'll reply to everyone before the deadline, so if you want some advice, let me know and I'll try and help. Alright, this video has gone on long enough. I'm signing off and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.